Okay, so we have these two very special guests with us today. They are already with us, but before starting the actual dialogue with them, I would like to introduce you to them and to their work so that we can let me see here, so that we can have a sense of who they are and what they do on a day-to-day. So we have here with us today Dr. Rafael Rezende. He's a pharmacist and biochemist with a master and a PhD in pharmacology from the Federal University of Minas Gerais in Brazil. He has two postdoctoral fellowships in immunology, one at University of Minas Gerais and the other one at Harvard Medical School. He's an assistant professor of neurology at Harvard Medical School and Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston, where he leads a research group focused on neuroimmunology and the gut-brain axis in neurodegenerative and psychiatric disorders. He's also, from a spiritist perspective, he's an active member of the Allan Kardec Spirit Society of Massachusetts, where he's a lecturer. He is active as a fraternal counselor. He teaches the systematic study of the Spiritist doctrine and mediumship development course. He's also affiliated with the U.S. Spiritist Medical Association, contributing the dialogue between science and spirituality. And we have with us Dr. Marcelo Saad, who is a physician and board certified in rehabilitation medicine and acupuncture. He's a doctorate in rehabilitation sciences by the Federal University of São Paulo. He's currently the director of the Spiritist Medical Association of São Paulo, coordinator of research department at the Brazilian Spiritist Medical Association. As an independent researcher, he's also engaged in events, organizations, scientific publications, editorial collaborations with journals and books, technical lectures, and scholar tasks. His primary interest fields are religiosity in healthcare, anomalous phenomena of consciousness, and complementary spiritual therapies. So I just want to kind of go briefly over some of the works that they do so we are aware. So Dr. Rafael Rezende, he looks at neuroimmunology and the gut-brain axis, how these are closely related, closely linked to neurodegenerative disorders. As a healthy communication network between the gut and the brain is crucial for preventing inflammation and maintaining neurological health. When the gut microbiome is disrupted, it can lead to increased systemic and neuroinflammation, impacting brain function and potentially contributing to the progression of diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. So we're talking about this gut-brain axis. We're talking about inflammations leading to affecting the brain and leading to diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. So this connection provides a basis for new therapeutic strategies that target the gut microbiome to treat or prevent these conditions. Now, he has a research in Alzheimer's disease. So here we have a definition of Alzheimer's disease being a neurodegenerative disease that is characterized by amyloid plaques, neurofibrillary tangles, and microglial activation. So these are deposits of protein that are abnormal, and microglial activation is something that's actually beneficial. It helps with the prevention, but in later stages of Alzheimer's, it becomes a toxic mechanism. So it becomes actually destructive as opposed to constructive. So what he's doing is he's looking at this nasal anti-CD3 that has been shown to treat animals with the progressive form of experimental autoimmune encephalomyelitis, a model for multiple sclerosis, by inducing regulatory T cells that dampen the microglial inflammation in the brain. So they are using this in animal models to decrease the inflammation caused by those factors that I cited. And they can correct me if I'm saying something that's not correct here. So basically, they are showing that the nasal anti-CD3 also ameliorates disease in a murine model of Alzheimer's disease by targeting microglial activation in the brain, independent of amyloid beta deposition. So the studies show a path to treat Alzheimer's disease. He also is writing a book on autism, and this is in his Instagram. He posted this cover asking people to give feedback on whether they like the cover of the book or not. It's being written in Portuguese, and he also has lectures that you can access on YouTube on autism and spiritism. Now, Dr. Marcelo Saad, he has a website with all his research. I really invite you to take a look at it. The website is down there. So there is an area specific for English. So what you see on the top is many works that he has worked as an editor, complementing therapies for the body, mind and soul, acupuncture. He has this book, An Examination of Religiosity. This other one, again, he looks at complementary therapies for the complementary healthcare. There's many chapters that he's authored in many different books. So you can see a variety of topics here: acupuncture, distant healing, spiritual religious coping. And here is just a little piece of all his publications and contributions in English. All of this you can find on his website, okay? And you can access. So spirituality and mental health, spiritual well-being, religion and health, spirituality and healthcare, and so forth. Okay.
Turn the music off before.
It's on?
Yeah.
Okay. So
No.
1 second.
Yep. There we go. You can turn
Okay.
the sound on.
All right, so with that now,
See if they can speak.
yes. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes. I need the people online. Can the people online hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Want to make sure. So let's see, Rafael, good morning.
Good morning.
There you go. Just checking out sound here.
Yeah.
Great.
Can you say good morning again?
Please say good morning again.
Good morning, everyone.
There you go. Now we got the sound to be as loud as we
Yes.
want. So I'm actually, since you are here with us, just gonna give you you want to say hi and
Yeah, of course. So, Sue, thanks for so much for inviting me. It's an honor to be here. Thank you, everyone. I see Andrea and Marcelo. Marcelo has recently been in our spiritual center here in Boston, so very nice to see you all. And I want to congratulate everyone for making this possible for 19 years, bringing Spiritism to um, in English, which is, as we were talking before, it's like a true challenge. So it's an honor to be here. And just a heads up, the mechanism and everything you mentioned about the Alzheimer's, it's actually already in clinical trial in our hospital for multiple sclerosis and Alzheimer's disease, and I can comment more on the results we have so far. So we're moving forward to curing or at least preventing those diseases.
that's amazing. Is there anything in your work relevant that I left out that you would like to share?
So I also have another area which it actually inspired me to write the book, which is autism. So I actually have another field of research in my lab in which we're focusing on maternal and fetal communication for neurodevelopment, and psychiatric disorders, including neurodivergence, autism, ADHD, and all of these conditions. So I have two different fields, but they combine in a point where immunology is the common factor among them. So
Awesome.
here we go.
Thank you so much. Now let's talk to Marcelo. Hi, Marcelo. Thank you for being here. Marcelo Saad. Let me clarify because there is another Marcelo here. Let's talk with Dr. Saad.
Hi, good morning for all. I thank you for the opportunity to having me, and I want to collaborate with this joyful meeting. I currently am a retired physician, thus I dedicate all my time to the development of the Spiritist medical ideal. And I am enthusiastic in sciences rather than active researcher. Thus, my role is mainly to organize the existing knowledge and disseminate the recent findings in a mean that makes sense. So I will cite many research from other people rather than my publications. All my publications are a summary of the current knowledge, and I want to correspond to the trust you deposit in me.
That's awesome. So, loving research myself, I see you as an angel that pulls the stuff together and organize for people to have less work and actually a better understanding. So I really appreciate what you do. And since you have a very specific role with the Spiritist Medical Associations, maybe this will be our starting point, and letting everybody who is here to know this is a dialogue. So at any point, if you want, I'm going to start with some questions, but it's for all of us. So if you have questions, raise your hand, and if you are online, you can do the same thing. Go ahead and raise your hand. Andrea is tracking for me. She'll let me know who has a question, okay? So, Marcelo, tell us a little bit about the work and the purpose of the Spiritist Medical Associations.
The Spiritist medical ideal surged in 1968 from a group of physicians that reunited weekly in the house of Spiritist medium, and they studied the integration of the Spiritist tenets to the practical medicine and the spirits that guide that reunions invited them to create an association to establish the foundations of the medical care of the future. Thus, in 1968, they founded the São Paulo Spiritist Medical Association in our state of São Paulo. And later, other Spiritist medical associations surged in other regions of Brazil, and in 1999 was created the Spiritist Medical Association of Brazil to congregate, and later the International Spiritist Medical Association to congregate other initiatives started in other countries. And the role of the Spiritist medical movement is to, in first place, develop technical and scientific arguments of the association of the Spiritist concepts to clinical health, and then accelerate the dialogue with academic medicine, and for finally influence the scientific paradigm for this shift from a materialistic paradigm to a post-materialistic, where consciousness is important in our reality. Thus, we make sense on the title of a famous book, Brazil, Heart of the World, Homeland of the Gospel, is a traditional spiritist book telling the mission of Brazil regarding to spread the spiritism on the world. And maybe we can interpret this mission as the role of the Spiritist medical movement. So we try to disseminate this knowledge for all medicine in all the countries of the world.
Excellent, thank you. Rafael, what is your what is your participation? How do you feel you are currently contributing to this paradigm?
Science and spirituality, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Bridging your research with spirituality.
So, as you know, I mean, as an academic person, it's really tough to talk about a spirituality in the center, right? So, although some people, I noticed that some people are getting more and more aware of these things. They know what I do, and they come to me like in secret to talk, to ask a little things. They are feeling things that they cannot share with everybody. And I realized that, in the beginning, I was trying to find ways that I could prove spirituality to those people. But then I realized that we don't have the technology yet, and perhaps because God doesn't want us to do this at this right moment. But then I noticed there is something I could do, which is, bringing the spirituality in my own life and showing my own example. So by treating everyone well, by respecting everyone, and by open my office to everyone who want to come and talk about spirituality. So I'm always open, and that's how I'm actually bringing attention to those people, because they come to me in a sense that, okay, everything is genetic. And then I begin to say, well, let's think a little bit. And then I begin to develop a way of thinking. And eventually, by the time they end, so I already leave it's like a box of Kim wipes in my room, because everyone is gonna cry. I know. So they come and they open themselves up and cry, and after that, it seems like the heaviness were lifted up. So I realized that I'm contributing to spirituality, my own environment, by respecting and be open to everyone's sufferings.
I can't help but be extremely curious about what is it that you tell these people who are actually scientists working with you that bring them to tears. I mean, you were like a little cruel, because you kind of suggested something but didn't give us the sweet. Come on.
Yeah. Well, so I've talked to people from all types of cultures and religions. So I some people, they sometimes get there and it's such a bad mood and depression, and they don't understand what's going on in life. And then I begin to tell about the spiritism without mentioning the spiritism. And by the time, I think obviously I get help from spirit around, because I begin to say things that I don't even know where it's coming from. I'm totally conscious. Obviously, I'm not, incorporated anything, but I'm just getting this uh, uh, ideas. But for example, there was a person that worked with me for many years. She was Jewish. She was born in Russia and moved to Israel, but she was Jewish. She couldn't understand the problems she was facing in her life. So she was about to give up, honestly. And then I began to talk about spirit, life, afterlife, reincarnation. And for somehow in the beginning was she was laughing, but then as I start talking more and more and more, then she began to cry and said, "Well, it makes sense." So now she's actually actively working on the spirituality. I wouldn't say spiritism, but spirituality. She's a total different person. This is one of an example that I can give you, in addition to many others, that I believe I can touch somehow with the spiritism, but in a way that one thing that I learned, I never use the word religion. So I never use this word. This brings all types of traumas to those people. Like we're having lunch on a table, and in front of me sitting German, Jewish, and a Muslim. So they're all together. How can I talk about religion? So then I talk about spirituality. It's something that unite instead of splitting. And that's the point where everybody comes together and begin to share things because they say, wow, if this guy here is talking about this, if he's that crazy, I'm crazy too. So let's talk about it.
Right.
That's how things move. It's
Okay.
for each person, it's a different situation.
Okay. And Marcelo, if you ever want to comment on something that Rafael said and vice versa, please feel free. Just let me know. Okay.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
as I have no contact with patients any longer because I'm retired, I collaborate with the Spiritist medical movement in the academic tripod. We follow the tripod: education, research, and assistance. And in education, we do the Congress, Mednesp Congress, each 2 years, a monthly journal club where we discuss recent research, and an annual European tour. Each year, people go to Europe in about 10 countries to make events there regarding the Spiritist medical movement. The research is in basically three arms: spirituality and health, spiritual therapists, and phenomena of consciousness suggestive of the surviving after death. And in the field of assistance, we instituted the fundaments of the Spiritist chaplaincy, the visit for inpatients with the Spiritist commitments. And I, as a director of the Spiritist Medical Association of São Paulo and the Brazilian one, I collaborate in all these initiatives, always indirectly in the organization or even directly, as I do in the journal club. I make the resume of the paper, and I tell it in a weekly meeting. This is my contribution for this movement currently.
Thank you. I have a question. I have a question for you, and then we're going to open to the public. So the journals discussion, is this something that is exclusively for people who are members of the association? Can anyone become a member of the association? Is this or is this exclusive for doctors?
We currently work with a system of signature of a streaming. So we have a lot of free material, open access material in our website, in the Spiritist Medical Association of São Paulo and the Brazil. But we have also a material dedicated to the people that sign our content. Thus, all our activities are in Portuguese, but is very easy today. You find native tools, even in YouTube, in which you can translate immediately to any language, mainly English. So many people can sign this streaming and have access to all our knowledge. And we have material for professionals on the health area and also for lay people. So everyone is invited to know what we can offer in terms of education, research, and assistance.
Great, thank you. So we have our first question here.
Rafael.
a comment for Rafael. I'm gonna repeat just to make sure you guys are hearing clearly.
Yes, sorry, I'll
It's
speak
okay.
up.
Yeah.
I wanted to say thank you for sharing how you discuss spiritism without mentioning the word spiritism with other people of other religions. Because when I joined spiritism, when I had the age and knowledge to choose for myself which religion I chose to follow, I chose to follow spiritism because it made sense. It was logical. It answered my questions, and it wasn't forcing themselves on me. And I also like how we don't force ourselves on others. We are not the type of religion who go, if you're not spiritist, you suck. And I like that. I like that we are the type of people who bring closeness, not separation. And so when we share information, we don't share in a way, oh, you have to be the way we think and accept it and that's that, because we're right and you're wrong and that's it. And so I like how you talked with colleagues of yours who are scientists and who are of different religions, and how you were able to help that person who you worked with, who was Jewish, and who she didn't change her religion just because you talked to her and helped her in her struggle in her mental health at that point, where she's apparently, from what I could gather, is that she wanted to give up on life. So I am thankful you saved her life that day, and I'm thankful that she was able to get some help, the help that she needed. And I'm thankful that she was able to find some solace in whatever information you gave to her from spiritism. And I liked how spiritism is something that we can question it. It's not like, oh, just because it's sad, so that's right. And this is something that Kardec himself always said, follow science, not me. And so for me, that is very valid. So when me as a patient, I'm not saying I'm a doctor, but I'm very much a patient. I basically live in the hospital. And so,
Recording in progress.
but sorry.
Spiritual phenomenon.
Yes, and let's be brief so we have everybody talking, okay? Let's
When I
c-
went to
complete,
treatment,
please.
one of the patients that she mentioned she never heard of spiritism before because my treatment is very long. She allowed me to watch videos in spiritism, and I put one in English. And she thought it was very interesting because it was logical, and she never heard of spiritism before. So I'm very appreciative that you shared with someone new in a way that wasn't making them have to be spiritists just to be able to absorb whatever information they needed. So I'm thankful for that.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimonial. Now, John?
We had a discussion this morning in our discussion group. Nowadays, with in vitro fertilization, the question arose, in the past, when the egg combined with the sperm in the woman's body, the spirit started, attaching to the fetus at that time. Now we have in vitro fertilization. In addition, we have surrogate moms where that egg is replanted in another body. How does that affect, what is their view on when the spirit enters the fetus or enters when the egg and sperm combine, in light of surrogate, in light of in vitro fertilization?
Were you able to hear the question? I
yeah,
just want to
I
make
heard-
sure. Okay,
I heard the
Rafael,
question.
you wanna
Yeah, I can
try to
start.
answer? Okay,
Yeah, so it's a very, very good question, and we know that everything happens in life, especially to help people. It's something that comes from God, so we need to appreciate that. So the in physiology, when a woman and a man, they're having their sexual relationship for um, for a new body to be made made. So in that case, we know from the Spiritist book, primarily from Andrea Luiz, who wrote through Chico Xavier, that even before the spirit, the conception, the sperm actually fertilize the egg, the spirit is already there, everything is prepared, and it's actually the spirit who is dictating the whole development of that embryo. Even the sperm that is going to be fertilizing the egg is coming, it's controlled by the spirit and the mom's mind, and the syntony and vibration and all this frequency that attracts the magnetism that attracts this sperm to develop the new body. The thing is the in vitro fertilization. That's a good question, because where does the spirit come into connection? One point that in the book you're probably aware of, published 2004 by Divaldo Franco and Manuel Filomeno de Miranda, called Planetary Transition. Manuel mentioned about the spirits that are coming from other systems that are much more evolved than us, that are coming to contribute not only physically but morally to our development, to the humankind. And he said that because the spirits, they do not have any relationship with the parents, it would be so hard for them to get closer to the mom and the dad and control all that process of fertilization. So in that sense, they actually, I wouldn't say, I'm not saying that all in vitro generated babies are this case, but some of them, or maybe most of them are, according to the spirit, is because, they don't have this relationship, this conscious relationship. They're coming from a different orb, primarily Alcyone. That's what it was mentioned. It's one of the stars in the Pleiades. And so in that case, the in vitro is the best point where in the lab you can put the sperm and the egg together, make an embryo. In that sense, the spirit is somehow, I wouldn't say inside, but connected, mentally connected to that new embryo. And once that it's put on the mommy's uterus, womb, so that's when he begins to control all development. And that's explained why, initially 2 cells will become a full human body, because there is a form that shape everything, and the spirit that is being now in control of the embryo is actually shaping the body. So that's what the in vitro means. And regarding the surrogate moms, so that's another point, because if you think that many people, especially homosexual, that wants to have babies, so why they cannot have babies? So if it's possible for a mom to generate a baby and give it, and whatever the reason, for what I see, for the spiritual role, the superior spirit, it doesn't matter how it comes. The part of the spirit needs to come. So it doesn't matter if it comes in vitro, if it comes to a surrogate mom, but it needs to come. So I think it's all part of the process of reincarnation, the spirits that need to be on earth one way or another. And um, and that I'm never seeing it as a negative way. It's always positive. Obviously, you have to think about the mom who is doing that, but that's each one's issues they need to solve, whether they're selling the baby or whether they cannot raise that baby because financial problems, whatever. So it's better off to give this baby away than kill it. So it's always good to keep that in mind, um, and always thinking about this in a good way. Sorry, I talked too much.
No, I think there was a a good explanation for a very complex. I want to highlight this is a very complex subject, and the world is evolving, and we have today things that we didn't have in the past. Situations they're new with the evolution of science, and it's okay if we don't have the answers for all the questions. Sometimes it's easier to it's better to acknowledge our own ignorance than to extrapolate into theories that we're not sure about what we're saying. But there are some fundamental principles that we know, and we can apply those principles or try to the best that we can to the new situations, because the world is bringing a whole bunch of new situations. So before getting back to the public, I want to ask Marcelo to speak a little bit because I saw that you have a lot of reviews and did a lot of editing in the work of acupuncture. And I was very curious because I think here we can really trace a close parallel between the spiritist science and the physiology in acupuncture. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Sure, I would like to say more, but indeed there is not ready material on this subject because there's no parallel we can track directly, but we can make indirectly inferences. So we have some similarities in Chinese medicine and the spiritist tenets. And one of them is the concept of qi. The qi is the energy in the Chinese medicine that is related to other forms of energy in other cultures, such as prana in the Indian concepts and mana in the Hawaiian concepts. The qi is the energy that forms everything that exists. So we have qi outside our body and inside our body. Inside our body, it promotes organic vitality. And going to the spiritist tests, what conceives organic vitality is the vital fluid or the double etheric. And the outside of our bodies, it is the chi is the essence of everything that exists. So we could imagine that this chi in the universe would be the universal fluid. And many other associations could be done between the Chinese knowledge and the knowledge brought by Spiritism. If you want to take more questions specifically about this, we can wait, but I can now read everything I researched before and tell you at once. What do you prefer to tell it? Because I see you have other questions on acupuncture. What do you want to do? To tell it at once or in parts?
Let's see. Let's see what at once. At once. Can you I think my curiosity is, I mean, it's such an ancient practice. And like you said, there is like all these parallels. Research wise, where are we in terms of kind of being able to there are many challenges when it comes to research and anything that is spirit related, right? Especially with the scientific method and things like that. So I'm just curious in general, where do we stand research wise, and what is there any evidence available to us?
Evidence properly acceptable in academic terms, we don't have, because all this knowledge are inferences. But we have some indirect evidences on the vital fluid and other tenets of the Spiritism, and indirect evidences on the qi and the other concepts on Chinese medicine. But I made some comparisons between the two systems, and I saw also an correlation between the soul, the concept of soul, because in Chinese medicine, there is a concept of the mental structure that is called Han. The Han is our mental structure, and after that, it goes to the cosmos. It can be related to the spiritist concept of the mental body or the part of the perispirit that is related to our mental life. And also, we have the concept in Chinese medicine of the Zhang Fu. The Zhang Fu is our immaterial organs and viscera. We have the organic, physical organs and viscera, and we have the immaterial projection of these structures that is called the Zhang Fu. And I think I see a parallel of the Zhang Fu and the perispirit, the spiritual body. So we have many structures that can be correlated with each one. And all these correlations are interesting because the treatment concept in both systems is related to balance. We can learn with each other. For example, the qi circulates in the channels of energy in the Chinese medicine means health. And when the circulation is sufficient and free, we have the health. And the blockage, depletions, or imbalances cause illnesses. Thus, also in the Spiritism, we work with the balance of the vital fluid and the free action of this structure to give a health to our patients.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for clarifying. I'm going to pass to, I think we have a few. Anyone has a question here? Yes.
Sorry, can I just comment briefly on what
Yes,
you
sure,
said?
absolutely. Go ahead.
So, it's so interesting, the acupuncture. I'm fascinated by this because when I was doing my PhD, I had a friend who was trying to prove acupuncture scientifically, and he was using rats. And he was actually inducing pain in this rat in a model, and using acupuncture in some specific points. And what he found is that it dramatically reduced pain, and the mechanism was even proven to be mediated by endogenous opioids. So, for some reason, the neurons begin to produce opioids like endorphins and help controlling the pain. So, I think there is a point, and this data is published actually. So, there is a point in which science begins to vislumbrate these mechanisms.
Thank you. Thank you.
So my question is for Rafael. It's just a curious curiosity. If you have any challenges or support from your institution when you start, adding these spirituality concepts in patient care and research and publications, how was from the institutional point of view? I'm also in healthcare and I work for academic medicine, so just curious to see how.
Yes, aren't you a dietitian or
Physician.
physician?
Yeah.
Physician, yes.
So I don't actually have support from the institution to talk about these things. I'm actually stubborn and I do it anyways. So I always say sometimes I have a trip for spiritual meetings, and then I talk to the institution, say, oh, I have to go to a conference. Oh, what type of conference, they ask. And then I said, well, it's a conference where we're going to talk about mind and body. Oh, that's interesting. So we're going to talk about your projects. Yes, I'm going to talk about Alzheimer's, autism, things like that. So I don't actually get anything directly from the institution per se. So, I mean, to do these things, we need to be stubborn and we need to be diligent, as Sue said in the beginning, because the challenges are going to be huge.
Okay. Yes.
I have a question. What is the study that's going on right now for Parkinson's disease? I would like to know, my husband has Parkinson, and I would like to know what is the studies coming new.
Did you
So
hear?
I heard it's for me
Okay.
or
Yeah, I think it's for you because it relates to the area of
yeah, I don't
Parkinson's
know.
disease, and
Okay.
she's just curious about what studies are.
Yeah, so let me explain you something that is really interesting here, and that Sue touched base a little bit in the beginning, which is about one of the most important cells in the central nervous system, which is called microglia. So those microglia, for those who don't know immunology, they are the immune cells of the central nervous system. So they help clearing things. So one thing that we discover it's this a treatment that we affect actually T cells. They're another type of immune cells in the body. These T cells, microglia, is stuck. They don't move around. They just move inside the brain, for example, but they don't move outside of the brain. But T cells or T lymphocytes, they actually move everywhere. So we find a way that you can induce this regulation of T cells. Why? Because in Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and most of actually all neurodegenerative diseases, this microglia actually lose the control, the balance, and become super activated and causing more damage than good. So in that sense, we actually started a trial for Alzheimer's disease using this nasal anti-CD3. It's called Forelumab. You can actually put on Google and you're going to see. We started it for MS and we gave for the first Alzheimer's patient this year. And I was there to see the first dosing. It's intranasal, super simple. And we are actually trying the same thing. We start eventually for Parkinson as well. So we are now showing mouse models of Parkinson that the same treatment is helping because it's making this microglia less active, less mad, if I would say, and happier. So in that sense, we actually found like amazing data in the patients before treatment. They go to a PET scan and we actually see the activation of microglia using the specific dyes that we inject in this patient. So the brain kind of lights up specifically where the microglia is. And for Alzheimer's patients, Parkinson patients, multiple sclerosis patients, it's very, very activated. 3 months after treatment, given every 3 days, and the person does it at home. So it's very simple, no side effects. We do the PET scan again, and the microglia, it's like a control, a healthy individual. So it's unbelievable. We didn't expect that. And the FDA is also now approving more and more patients because it's something that it's amazing. And we are now starting in January for ALS, the same trial. And I think we're going to start eventually for Parkinson because mouse models gives us um, very good data. Other than that, unfortunately, one thing that the field is discussing about Parkinson is not much like the treatment, but where it comes from. And most people now think it's coming from the gut. So the problem starts in the gut and then affects the brain. But that's not a treatment. It's just more like basics of the disease. And this nasal treatment, I think, is going to be one of the breakthroughs, if even for Parkinson, but we don't know yet for Parkinson when it's going to start. More to
So yeah, it's really interesting that you say that because with Parkinson's disease, a lot of people, when they look and they see the tremors and the posture and the rigidity, but we know that there is a number of things that happened much earlier
yes,
affecting the autonomic system. And by that, I
yes,
mean the control of the heart, the control of the gut. So all those things are happening way, way, way before you start seeing the more classic symptoms of Parkinson's disease.
right.
So it's interesting to locate that and correlate that with the gut. But now I want to ask the two of you these questions because we also read in the spiritualist literature that with the evolution of humanity, in more evolved realms, we're not going to be seeing that level of neurodegenerative diseases. The death process is going to be more less with less suffering, and we're going to see less of that. And I think one of the primary components from a spiritual and psychological perspective that triggers these neurodegenerative diseases is guilt. So guilt is the most disorganizing force that we have in ourselves and in our level of evolution. I don't think that there is one person on the face of earth, perhaps some very few exceptions, that don't bring guilt, this ancestral guilt, and everyday's guilt, right? So is there any research that is looking at this connection between emotions and the psychology, which is similar to depression and to all the mental disorders that we are seeing with these neurodegenerative diseases?
Marcelo can start.
Marcelo, are you aware of any of these?
You see, guilt is a very toxic emotion, and there are many scientific researches on the trace of forgiveness, and quality of life and good physiological parameters, mainly cardiovascular ones. The trace of forgiveness can be measured through questionnaires. So it's an objective measurement. And they correlated the trace of forgiveness for each people in research with these parameters related to health and physiology. They found direct and positive correlations between a highest trace of forgiveness and the good physiological parameters. Thus, the forgiveness is a rule for a good health. When we see it in the Gospels, is not to please God, but rather to give us a good quality of health, a good realm. Come to us, your realm. It means we construct this realm of peace inside us. So we have to start to introduce it with more emphasis in medicine, in medical practice. And now I invite Rafael to say about the neurophysiological realm of this effect.
Yeah, so I agree with everything you said, and even for neurodegenerative disease, if you begin to track back the life of the person, you see guilt is a common factor. So being guilt and also being hurt and not being able to forgive. So all of these things makes the person like it's like create a shell or something that begins to, or a force or energy that begins to disorganize the cell functioning and cause all these issues. I mean, there is no proof that Alzheimer's are going to be caused by guilt or any other disease, but we see that people who have this difficulty in forgiving, usually because there's huge pride. That's why you don't forgive, right? You're very proud in a bad way. So in that sense, um, you begin eventually to shut down. And if you think, for example, about Alzheimer's, think that you're very, you have this guilt, you are not able to forgive. So then you're hurt. You have this bad feeling around. And what you see in Alzheimer's patients, if you remember the book, In the Greater World, in which Calderaro, with an instructor of André Luiz, mentioned about the three levels of the mental house, which is first floor, second floor, and third floor. The Alzheimer's patients are actually going towards the first floor. So they begin to disconnect from reality and begins to immerse themselves in whatever they were before, the instincts and all the primitive thoughts and everything they were. So they are going in the wrong direction because the point is going towards the third floor. But that's what guilt and inability of forgive makes to you. So you get so focused on yourself, and you begin to go down consciously wise. Instead of raising your conscience, you're just getting more and more inconscious, and that manifests itself in the body as dementia, as lack of memory, and all of these things. So that's my point of view. And when we are having meetings about Alzheimer's and out of with these doctors, and they say, how can you cure Alzheimer's? So what I want to say is, please learn how to forgive and not to be guilt. But I cannot say that at the moment. I would be fired probably. So I just think.
Yes, yes. Yeah, it's fascinating what you said because I never thought of it this way. But it is as if you regress to the most instinctive, you disconnect from awareness and expansion and you go back in, you
Yeah.
lock from, so it's an amazing process in that sense. I have many questions, but I have Elcio. Go ahead.
Going to comment the relation, what he thinks or his opinion on mental disorders and past lives. Mental disorders coming from past lives. If he's
Mental disorders coming from past
I
lives.
think that Luis mentions this in for workers of life.
Workers of Life Eternal, yeah. Okay, so this connection between mental health and past lives. Marcelo,
Mm.
you wanna start?
Yeah. We say about past lives and current lives and future lives as if they were separated. They are a continuity. So what we grow in this present life will be reflected in the past, in the future lives and in past lives. So we have to learn not to search for the cause of the mental disease, if it is in this life or in other lives, but to get the solution, focus on solution of the problem. And the solution mainly are in the moral teachings of the Gospels. So we have to marry the biological treatment as drugs, the psychological treatment as a psychotherapy, and the spiritual therapy as the intimos reformation. So we are circulating the problem in all angles, and this is the best way to treat mental diseases.
Thank you. Do we have any questions online?
No.
No, okay. So, Rafael, you wanna add anything to that, or?
Oh, I think it was beautiful.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I want, okay, we have a question here. Go ahead.
I have two. I'm gonna ask them both at once. One for Marcelo. Marcelo, when you were talking about chi, what immediately came to my mind was universal cosmic fluid. I'm just wondering, do you think the chi and universal cosmic fluid are one and the same? That's the first one. And the other one for Rafael. I found it very wise the way you approach people with other faiths, because you go to the elements that unite us instead of the ones that divide us. But when you think about the constellation element of Spiritism, it will inevitably lead to people or souls in this planet are at different stages, and only by the mechanism of reincarnation you're going to resolve those problems. What do you do when the conversation gets to that point?
All right, so I think Marcelo, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you did mention the parallel between those two energies, and you did say that it was equivalent to the universal cosmic fluid, correct?
Okay.
No,
Yes.
just, okay. Perfect. So yeah, he did make that parallel. And Rafael.
Suzana, maybe when I repeat the question for people that may be listening.
Okay, okay. So the question is how he handles the conversation once it gets to the differences that we see in the world and the role of reincarnation in, in explaining that.
Yeah. So I drive the conversation in a way that the person will inevitably ask me the question. So how do you explain such diversity and suffer in the world? That's what I want to hear. Because then I get to the point, hey, you're absolutely right. So how do you think this happened? And then the person, I just turn it back the question. And the person begins to, kind of get lost. And what I say is, well, if you believe there is a power, if you believe that there is a power, a father, whoever you think of, you can call it chance. Some people call it God, like this happens by chance. For me, it's God. It doesn't matter the name. So if you think there is this power, and if you think this power loves you, would you agree that the diversity or all this suffering in the world makes sense? We said no. They said that's because it's not God's fault. It's because it's our own fault, in a way that we actually have continuously living, and more or less what Marcelo said. We think about past lives, but actually we are the same person, the same spirit, but just wearing different clothes. And whatever you did before, forget about time. Forget about time. It's one thing. So what you did before, it's actually what's happening now. It's resonating now. So that's when people begin to think, well, so if I'm suffering this now is because I did something wrong. Perhaps yes. But that's the time of not thinking about what you did wrong, but it's the time of thinking how you can make it better. So that's the only reason. That's how I approach those people. And then they say, who should I, how do you, which person inspire yourself? So how do you, and then I say, okay, so for me, the example I follow, because one question they asked me once was, how do you differentiate good and evil? Why do you know good and evil are different? Why do you know killing someone is bad? So, and then the the easy answer for me was, well, my motto is Jesus Christ. If you believe it or not, you can have your own motto. My own motto is Jesus Christ. If I'm gonna do something and I don't know if it's right or wrong, the first thing I ask my conscience is, what would Jesus do? If I think he would do that, I'll do it. If I think by 1 second, split of second, he wouldn't do that, I know it's wrong. So that's how I approach those people. And I say, it doesn't need to be Jesus. Whoever you think is an idol, spiritual idol for you, just think about the same way. And you're going to be able to do the right thing.
So the answer is you don't start with reincarnation, but you get
No.
to reincarnation eventually, depending on how the conversation goes.
Correct.
Yes. Okay, there are two questions that I think it relates to what I spent some time yesterday going over everything on your websites and Instagrams and digging into your social media. So, Marcelo, you have revisions and chapters and editing research that talks about the survival of consciousness, right? So,
Yeah.
can you illuminate us a little bit on that?
There are many phenomena of consciousness that suggest the survival of consciousness after death. They are mainly the mediumship, they are also the memories of past lives, suggestive of reincarnation, the near death experiences, when we see the consciousness present when the brain is off, and the end of life experiences, such as paradoxical lucidity, some lucidity when the brain is completely damaged. All this evidence are enough to say consciousness is primary in our universe, and the brain manifests the consciousness is only the vehicle for its manifestation. And a very good book is a bestseller internationally, is the book of our colleague Alexander Moreira Almeida, Science of Life After Death. There you will have all the scientific evidences about this phenomena and how they correlate with the Spiritist tenets. The book doesn't emphasize Spiritism, but is very useful for a Spiritist student to know the arguments there in an academic way.
And just to be sure, this book is in English.
In English and other three languages.
Okay, perfect, perfect. I'll pass to Yvonne online.
Oh, hello.
Hi,
So
Yvonne.
this is for Marcelo. Thank you guys so much for what you've given us so far. In the beginning, you said that you're one of the reasons for the Spiritist Medical Association is to integrate Spiritism with medicine. And I think, I think you've just spoken about part of that when you talk about looking at NDEs and at the point of death. Are there any other areas that your group is working on to advance that kind of integration of medicine with Spiritism?
This is a working in progress because we have to separate Spiritism and religion. We have to select the non-religious part of the Spiritism to bring it as a proposal for medical assistance and medical knowledge. And an example is the research done more than 10 years ago by our colleagues that correlated all the sayings in André Luiz about the pineal gland, and they correlated with the functions of melatonin. When André Luiz said that in the decade of 1914, the melatonin, the pineal was an unimportant gland and melatonin was not discovered. So with the discovery of melatonin, all the functions said by André Luiz correlated with this substance. So how could Chico Xavier knew about all these functions of the pineal gland in the 1940s when pineal gland was an important gland for biology? So we have to bring these similarities in a non-religious way into the clinical knowledge. It's a work in progress.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna pass it back to Rafael, and I wanna again share with you. I met Rafael not too long ago in an event in Orlando where he presented his research in autism. We see nowadays a number of kids, and it's very much a topic out there, not only autism, ADHD, and all the challenges with this generation. And that's, again, is in the forefront of social media and everything else. But I also heard a story that is one of the most touching stories I've heard. And I wonder if you want to share with us what led you to the research and a little bit of your personal experience around this.
Oh yeah. So this was really interesting. I never thought I would be working on autism before. So, but in 2016, when my wife lost her baby, miscarriage actually, she was 10 week pregnant, and we got really terribly frustrated, and she couldn't get pregnant. And eventually we searched for medical advice, and the doctor said, well, the only way now you can try is by in vitro fertilization. So in that sense, we said, okay, let's do it. we did it, and after all the hormones, you probably know how the pain it is for the woman. She got she only the doctors only retrieved 4 eggs from her. And remember, the person right beside her in the hospital got 16, and I said, well, that's over. I thought. I didn't say anything, but I was really pessimistic. And then by the time only 3 of them fertilized, and the doctor decided, okay, so we're gonna put all of them, I mean the 3. And then I asked, well, but what is the chance of the 3 to be to survive? And then they said, well, that don't think about that. That's like winning the lottery. It's less than 1%. I said, okay, it's fine. She said, oh, I don't even think it's gonna work at this time. So just relax and okay. Never mind. All 3 embryos were put in her uterus, and after that, I had 3 dreams. I'm gonna just make it brief here because of the time. But one of the dreams, a boy came to me, and this boy was like in his 20s, and he said, "Hey, my name is Copernicus Papoulos. I'm coming from the ancient Greece, and I'm coming to be your son." And then I said, how is it possible? I mean, I was thinking about his name. I said, I cannot give you this name. And and then he laughed, and then he laughed, and I'm not coming because of your name, because of the name. I'm just coming because I want you to work something with me. And I said, what is that? He said, well, I'm very smart, I'm very intelligent, but I can't connect my brain to my heart, which means my emotions are somehow broken, and I need you to work with me like that. And I said, okay, but I'm not gonna call you that name. And then he said again, don't worry about it. And I said, I'm gonna call you Lucas because this is also a Greek name. And he said, it's fine, just help me. And then that's one of the dreams. Then I had the other 2 dreams, but anyway, um,
We have time, you can share.
yeah. So
Yes, yes. I wanna give you this final time because I know the story and I think it's worth bringing your personal experience and the science together. I think it's a nice way of ending it.
Okay,
So
but
go
this,
ahead.
okay, sounds good. This was my second dream. So my first dream was right after they implanted the embryos in my wife. And I remember exactly, I was in a small room. All the walls were white, and there were some speakers. I couldn't see the person I was talking to, but it was a girl. And then she said, I had a deep respect for her, and she was explaining me several things that I don't remember, but I do remember one question I made. That was the time my father had recently passed away. I was considering going back to Brazil. And then I asked her, do you think I should go back to Brazil? I even had a proposal to be a professor at USP in Ribeirão Preto at the time. So I was really touched, and I was thinking, okay, maybe it's time to go back. And then I asked her, so do you think we should go back? And then she said, I just heard. She said, no, we should not go back now. And I said, why not? She said, because I need to be born in US. And I said, what do you mean you're going to be my daughter? And then she said, yes, I'll be your daughter. And I was so, so happy that I woke up. And then I woke up my wife like at mid of the night. I said, Sabrina, you're pregnant. And she said, go back to sleep. So, and I said, I'm sure you're pregnant. And I woke up the day I had a meeting, and I told my friends, Sabrina is pregnant. I said, how do you know? It's because I just know. Okay, and then came to the boy, and after the boy, I had another dream in which I saw my wife giving birth. So then the boy came first, then the second was a girl, and then a third one came. And I said, no, are you kidding me? And I got that baby, and by the time I got her, she was like 6 years old. I look at her and I said, are you gonna be my daughter? She said, yes, I'll be your daughter. I said, but I don't even know how to call you. I already have 2. And then, and then she said, oh, please call me Camila. And that's the name of my third daughter. So I actually have triplets, and 2 of them, actually, primarily the boy, was diagnosed with autism. And since the time he was born, I look at him. He was in intensive care. They were born premature, 7 months. And then I told the nurse, I said, I think he is autistic. And then she said, how can you possibly know? I said, I told her the dream. And she actually heard me. She said, okay. And 1 year later, The doctor was seeing him. I said, I think he's autistic. And then they did all the tests, and indeed he was. And they said, "Oh, don't be sad." I said, "I'm not sad. I'm actually very happy because I know this was about to happen, and I know I have a purpose in my life, which is to help him to connect his brain, his heart." She didn't understand anything, obviously, what I was talking about, but that's what he meant. He need to connect, and it was so strong that when he was a baby, he didn't want me or my wife to touch him, even touch him. So can you imagine your own mom? I mean, you're trying to breastfeed your kid, or he didn't want us to touch him. But we knew it, and we worked very hard and diligently to give this sense back to him. And today, he's the most affectionate kid. He kisses us all the time. He says, "I love you" all the time. So, which means like somehow it worked. So, and that's, I said, well, as I'm in one of the most important or renowned university in the world, why not to start this work? And that's when I embarked on the journey of understanding the mechanism by which autism can be developed and how can we help moms and autistic kids to deal with this, which I mentioned, I will repeat here. I said that in Orlando is not a disease. It's just a difference of seeing the world. For them, we are weird. That's it. But for them, they are right. So that's how it is. And we, as a society, wants to make them fit what we think is normality. But for them, that's not normality. Why are you taking all the potencies these kids have just to fit them, to make them part of the society? We should learn from them, not impose things on them. And that's how you're going to make your kids, if you have one, to have a better life. Listen to them.
Thank you. Thank you for thank you for sharing. You skip important piece of the story, which I'll remind you, because I paid a lot of attention on the story. And I think it's important because this is a meeting that's talking about science and spirituality. And I think that your statement from the beginning, it is you are working on the dissemination of this paradigm by living the principles. So after you guys found out that your wife was pregnant, you went to two doctors that and had a conversation with these doctors. Please share with us what was their stance.
Yeah. So when my wife was pregnant and we went to the doctor, and the first thing the doctor said was not congrats. No. So the first thing the doctor said was, "Do you want to take one out?" And then I got so scared I was speechless. And my wife, like, we look at each other and said, "What is she talking about?" I said, "Of course not." And then she said, "Okay, that was fine." Then my wife went to an obstetrician, which is like a renowned obstetrician here in the hospital. And he looked at us and said, "Look, you are 39 years old." He looked at my wife. "You're 39-year-old, you're pregnant with triplets. So do you want to take one out?" And that was the second time. And I said, "No, why? Why you're asking that?" And then he said, "Because, the chances of one of these babies be born with a brain condition or something is huge, like Down syndrome or something." I said, "I don't care. Whatever is to be, it is to be." So two doctors asked us to take our kids. I said, "It's going to be very hard for you. You have no family here." And I said, "No, we're going to keep this, all three." And now I just look at my three kids making a mess right here. And I don't know if you hear them. And I look at them and say, if we had decided to take one out, who would be dead now? So that was the best choice we ever made, to have all three with us, three blessings, lots of work, but never getting to this point where you think about yourself first. So this is a beautiful opportunity to think about importance of life.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So we have 3 minutes. Marcelo, I'm going to ask from both of you just some final words of encouragement for us to continue the work here and for the people who are sitting here. How do you feel being part of this, and some thoughts about moving forward?
Thank you very much. It was a joy, a pleasure to be here in this date of anniversary of your initiative. I want to remember all of us that we are in an ongoing evolution. The things are changing fast. So we look 50 years in the past and we see acupuncture was a witchcraft, and spirituality and health was not a valid argument. And currently, both acupuncture and spiritual support for inpatients, for example, are a high quality standard for a good clinical practice. Thus, we can only imagine how it would be in 50 years from now. What differences we will have in this paradigm of comprehension on health, disease, treatment, and cure. We are working to accelerate it, but the changing is inevitable.
And just want to add, thank you for your words, because I think it puts into perspective. Sometimes we have a difficult time seeing the progress because we also have our own inner time, and we forget there is God time. And plus, to advance science, we need time. We need, the work that's being done by all of you, not necessarily on the social medias and what people are paying the most attention, but you guys are God's hands, God's mercifulness on earth, advancing the state of science, and little by little, in a very quiet but perseverant way, building the basis and deepening the roots so that the knowledge is robust and can start to. We know that it takes usually, I'll say in my area, in my field, 10 years minimally from the time something is established scientifically to be actually seen happening into private practice, into clinical practice. So there's also that the time to build the research, and then the time to do the translation of the research into the clinical practice. Thank you so much, Rafael.
Thank you. I know we are on time, so I just want to again thank you, Sue. Thank you, everyone, the Conscious Living, for the opportunity to be here, to share a little bit about my work. And I wish you guys many, many more years to come. And thank you very much from the bottom of my heart, from everything you guys do, especially sending Jesus and the Spiritist a love message to the English speaking people. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be here today.
All right, guys. And to all of you who are online, thank you for being here with us. Thank you for participating. I'm very sorry that you're not in person here with us, because there's a magnificent luncheon waiting for us. But maybe next time, next year, you can be here with us in person. I'm going to disconnect with a heartfelt thank you from all of us.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure.
Bye.